So I was kind of just sat there for a good sort of 2 hours, I think, going over kind of names, and it's easy to get lost in kind of overthinking a brand name, where sometimes it can just be quite simple. Like you think people like Adidas and Nike doesn't mean anything, but look at how they are today, right? They're massive. Pets at home being really simple as well for dog niche especially. So I was thinking more along the lines of things like paws, if I can have paws in the name or something like that. And I remember my partner Nat, I got her to come upstairs to try and bounce ideas. I had loads. I had like a notepad with like loads of little sketches of what the logo would look like and stuff like that. Really bad as well, because my art is really bad. And we had a little break where she went to make a cup of tea, and I just sat there. I was like, perfect. And then I love dog memes and stuff like that. So heck is like a massive thing in like videos and memes and stuff with dogs. So I was like, heckin' perfect. And I was like, oh my God, I literally thought of it. And Nat came back upstairs with like a cup of tea. And I just said, what do you think about heckin' perfect? And she just looked right at me and just went, I hate how your mind works.
You don't really get brands with like huge names or like really, really crazy logos. Like most of the time it's just simple stuff. Yeah. It's modern, it's slick, it's just simple. Yeah. And I think people in this day and age, I think they like not expect that, but they just trust it a bit more. And I think like, especially like when you go to a supermarket, shopping malls and stuff, like a lot of the new brands that you might not have purchased things from before or like seen before, they are generally just simple. And they're the ones that are taken off.
But like, I think a lot of the time on Amazon, it's very faceless. You're just buying a product. There's no, well, I mean, I definitely don't look through all the description. I know some people put on like their whole brand story and their journey. You just go for that first one. But you just see the picture and you buy it, and there's not, but with like, obviously your store, people come onto your store, they see what you're all about, they see what you support, they see you're a dog owner yourself, like what you're trying to achieve with your brand. People, well, I definitely would rather spend money than you than on Amazon with like some faceless business owner.
So we're here today with Chris, one of our long-serving members, and it'll be good to talk about your journey in white and private labeling, sort of where you've started, the ideas, and all the way through to sort of where you are now, because you're doing very well with the product. So it'd be good to hear it from yourself for everybody watching.
Yeah, so I've been part of Change now for just over 2 years now, and my journey started out from literally no experience at all to going through the training, understanding how to source products, white label, add logos and all that sort of stuff as well. And I think for me, for just adding credibility to a brand definitely helps by having logos on products, just because when people do see sort of a logo on it, it just adds that little bit of comfort to someone that they know they're investing into something. So I'm quite creative anyway, so I remember literally when I was going through my spreadsheet of products and ideas and stuff like that, I went down the dog niche, because that for me is quite important. It's something, you know, all my life I've had dogs, so I went down this niche and trying to think of a name. There's so many names that you can spin with dog kind of things in it, like paws and things like that, walks and things. So I was kind of just sat there for a good sort of 2 hours, I think, going over kind of names, and it's easy to get lost in kind of overthinking a brand name, where sometimes it can just be quite simple. Like you think people like Adidas and Nike doesn't mean anything, but look at how they are today, right? They're massive. Pets at home being really simple as well for dog niche especially. So I was thinking more along the lines of things like paws, if I can have paws in the name or something like that. And I remember my partner Nat, I got her to come upstairs to try and bounce ideas. I had loads. I had like a notepad with like loads of little sketches of what the logo would look like and stuff like that. Really bad as well, because my art is really bad. And we had a little break where she went to make a cup of tea, and I just sat there. I was like, perfect. And then I love dog memes and stuff like that. So heck is like a massive thing in like videos and memes and stuff with dogs. So I was like, heckin' perfect. And I was like, oh my God, I literally thought of it. And Nat came back upstairs with like a cup of tea. And I just said, what do you think about heckin' perfect? And she just looked right at me and just went, I hate how your mind works sometimes. So I knew from that moment it was a go. So for me, I chose that logo, and obviously trying to come up with colours and stuff like that, because you want it to be appeasing to the eye and draw attention. So we've got kind of a green, pink kind of feel, just so, it kind of adds the boy girl kind of vibe as well. But it's quite a fun logo too. With people who know me through Change as well, they obviously probably know my brand as well, so they can associate to the colours and enjoy what I came up with as well. But I think ultimately, don't overthink it, because like I said, it's so easy to get caught up almost wasting time thinking about what your logo needs to be. Where sometimes we've had members before, who started with a brand and a logo, and along the line, they've actually thought, I'm going to rebrand this, or they've gone through trademark issues or anything like that, where they've had to rebrand. And I think it's been quite important that they've gone through that journey as well and come up with another name. And then they've ended up being really successful, like with your friend you mentioned earlier. You know, she started off with a product with a logo on it, went down the B2B route, was being told no, went through a rebrand, and now she's in Superdrug.
I know,
like little things like that can make a massive difference.
And I think sometimes I know, like personally for myself, obviously my brushes are called Tami Jade, and that's because my imagination is so rubbish. I was just like, my name, easy, but I mean, it fits my niche. But sometimes you can get so caught up on like this brand you've created, and you need to just step back and think like, could a rebrand take this further? Am I like getting in the way of my own success with that? And because when you make it yourself and you love it, sometimes you think, oh no, I want to stick with this, like really push it. But it could be the move that takes it to the next level.
You tend to see like a lot of big companies rebrand as well, don't they? I think like, what was the one I saw the other day? I was kind of shocked. I've never seen it before. Peugeot, the car manufacturer, they've changed their logo.
Oh yeah, and they look a bit more like a sportsy kind of logo.
Yeah, I saw that. And like, first of all, I saw the back of the car, and I was like, "Oh, what is that? That looks cool."
Yeah.
And I got close. It's Peugeot. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know how to feel about that." But it's crazy.
But like those little adaptations to something like that has a massive impact, because like you said, you saw that and was like, oh, what is that? And then you found out it's Peugeot, and you might have thought like, oh, that's really cool, I really like that design now. And that might push you to, well, you're probably not going to get a Peugeot.
I still won't get one. They still got a few more rebrands to do. But I think even with like big companies, like you look at like Nike, Adidas, sort of like big household names and stuff like that, they don't change their name, but they play with their logos a lot. Like Nike is known for the tick, but then you'll see like different designs they do where there's like 3 ticks on there or 2 ticks and stuff like that. So you can get like a bit crazy, I guess, with the logo and stuff, but obviously still keeping it within that domain of what you're focused on. And I think with like what you're saying with your brushes, Tami Jade, I think like, to me, like I think that's probably better than something else with like the word brush in it. Do you know what I mean?
More like it's more. But a lot of the like beauty brands are just like a name, or they're a word that doesn't even mean anything.
But I think with that as well, with it being Tami Jade, it's attached kind of that gender to it as well. So obviously, like different genders can obviously buy the brushes as well. But it kind of adds people, when they do see that, they might think, oh, it's probably made by a woman. So I trust this a lot more. Whereas if it was Reese's brushes, they'd be like, Reece?
What does he know about brushes?
There's so many returns.
There's another dog product as well, Lily's Kitchen it's called. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So she basically started her brand in her kitchen, which is why it's called Lily's Kitchen. Again, really simple, and it just makes sense. So she went through obviously making all these dog products and dog foods and treats and stuff, built her brand, and then eventually Nestle actually approached her.
Really?
And basically said to her, how much to buy your brand? And unfortunately she did sell out. I think she sold it for $1 million, I think, and it's worth so much more now. But you go into Pets at Home, any kind of dog area, and they've all got sort of Lily's Kitchens in there now, which obviously Nestle have obviously pushed it, but sacrificed a bit of kind of the ingredients and stuff like that to make it cheaper. But originally she built a brand based off all these organic ingredients in her food, which obviously people then bought into, and she expanded. But I'd love to know her kind of feelings now, obviously seeing where it's got to, because I think she's probably kicking herself a bit. But again, that's going through a private label, putting a name on something, building it, where the big dogs are actually seeing the competition and going, oh, we need to buy them out quickly. So obviously if you ever get in that position, have a think about that if you ever do get in that position, obviously, because they might offer you a really good number, but in 5 years it might be even triple that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
but then it could also work on the flip side. If you decline that and your business doesn't do well, you've probably lost out.
Exactly.
There. So it is like, I think I did a video on this in the training, building to cash out. So it basically like goes through that process and stuff. But it's mainly if you have that goal of you want to build something and then try to get approached to sell the business, which is good because, you know, some people will build something, sell it, and now they've got a big, cash sum to invest into something else and push that. But I think like just going back to like the branding side of things, I think like a lot of the time, like less is more. From what I've seen, like I don't really, and to be fair, you don't really get brands with like huge names or like really, really crazy logos. Like most of the time it's just simple stuff. It's modern, it's slick, it's just simple. And I think people in this day and age, I think they like not expect that, but they just trust it a bit more. And I think like, especially like when you go to a supermarket, shopping malls and stuff, like a lot of the new brands that you might not have purchased things from before or like seen before, they are generally just simple. And they're the ones that are taken off.
We've got as well, we've sort of, obviously we're focusing more on sort of the logo and the appearance of it as well. You've also got like the brand story behind it as well. Because obviously once you've built your brand, having a story behind the brand's important as well, because obviously that's what people will invest in as well.
Buy into
so
it.
Like at the moment, like biodegradable stuff and all that sort of stuff, like recycling is a massive thing at the moment. So if people know that, you know, you're giving part of your donations are going to things like helping get plastic out the sea and stuff like that, that might actually sway someone from buying a Nike shoe to your shoe, for example. So I think like having that story, again, something that goes through the training with Anna, you know, talking about building that story for people to actually invest in that, because all it takes sometimes is a paragraph or even a sentence to say, look, we give back to our community or we help homelessness and stuff like that, that people might actually have experience with.
100%.
So I think that's...
Yeah, I do. I think if we go back like through your journey, obviously now your products are white or private labeled. At the beginning, am I right in remembering that you were doing drop shipping, but you were actually putting your own like stickers on your products back at the beginning?
So the collars I had, they were white labeled, but what I had done was you had stickers, which basically just had the logo on it. And you just literally order the box in, get the samples, always get your samples first, make sure it's good enough, then do your bulk order. And you don't have to have it logoed straight away because there are other ways you can do it. So these boxes arrived in, I basically printed off a load of stickers with the logo on it. And every box, it's a bit of faff, but when you're starting out, you know, you need to learn these lessons. So just literally whack a little sticker on there, send that out to a customer, because 9 times out of 10, when things come in a box, the customer's just going to open it and throw that box away anyway. So it doesn't really matter what's on that box, as long as you've got the message and what it is on there, and away they go. And literally that's how we started. And then we looked into embroidery and stuff like that on the collars, so they're now on the collars. So, you know, when people are out and about, if someone goes, oh, that's a really nice collar, oh, I can't remember the name, oh, hang on, it's on here.
Now.
And then there you go, that's then another sale probably going through as well, like organically. So I think like branding for me has been massive, especially starting out, building it, getting it to a good point where people invest in it because of what we achieve. So for my brand specifically, our message is, you know, we're looking to help other dog owners out there who might not be able to afford those, you know, £150 orthopedic beds or like collars that cost like £30 odd. So that's my message. And obviously we do give back to things like Dogs Trust and rescue homes, because my dogs are rescues. So for me, it's important that I do give back to that kind of community as well. So
people prefer you more as well. They'll trust you rather than going on Amazon and buying something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because when customers approach you, like obviously if they're on your website or something and you're putting detail on there, but if someone comes to you and talks to you and then you come across as genuine and, you know, really caring about something, that to people is massive, because then they believe what you're selling is true. Whereas a lot of people, you know, people who work in sales and stuff, having to sell the old pen and things like that, they don't care about the pen. And you know that. And you know, when you get the knock at the door from people in their bibs and stuff, literally that's the response straight away, isn't it? As soon as you see that bib through the window, you're just thinking, oh, here we go.
Oh, shut out the window, I'm not in.
Yeah, literally. And then they tell you about something where you deep down you know they don't care. They're just like maybe some 19-year-old who's just been roped into doing something in their free time. Whereas, you know, if someone turns up with a dog bed in their hand, sees you have dogs as well, and they can talk you through a dog bed and just say, you know, I have dogs myself, they use these beds, and here's a load of like content that I can show you, you're going to be more open to hearing about that because it's something you care about as well.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously those cold callers and stuff like that, it's just absolute nightmare. So
I think that's the difference as well. Just going slightly off subject, but like, I think a lot of the time on Amazon, it's very faceless. You're just buying a product. There's no, well, I mean, I definitely don't look through all the description. I know some people put on like their whole brand story and their journey. You just go for that first one. But you just see the picture and you buy it, and there's not, but with like, obviously your store, people come onto your store, they see what you're all about, they see what you support, they see you're a dog owner yourself, like what you're trying to achieve with your brand. People... Well, I definitely would rather spend money than you than on Amazon with like some faceless business owner.
And that's all to do with what I've built as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like for people who go through drop shipping and not having logos on there, there's that difficulty of just trying to sell that product because, like I said, it does add that little bit of difficulty where people might see that with no product on and be like, well, it just looks cheap and tacky. Whereas literally just having your brand on there, a lot of people will see it and literally straight away, they won't look at the details of that product. They'll just buy it because it's got a logo on it. So I think, I
think it's good. It's good to see sort of like where you started with like the stickers, the box, stuff like that, all the way through to like embroidery. You got dog beds as well. So your product range is good. Do you have any plans of looking at more products?
So scaling the business now. So obviously we're doing so well with the beds where the collars kind of, because they're seasonal things as well. Obviously when you go through your brand as well, if it is specific to niches like dogs and stuff, you need to bear in mind sort of seasonal products and stuff. So for example, an LED collar is going to see us through September to January, which is what I found. You know, I started with the collars in September, got to around about January and the sales just kind of started stopping because people were like, it's too light, I don't need the collar. So that's where I then thought, what do I need next? I need something that's going to go all year. And dog beds for me was a big tick because, again, I've experience with arthritic dogs and stuff like that, where I wanted to look into getting more cost-effective ways. So we got the beds, we've got 3-4 sizes now up to XXL, but we're also getting a super size in, which is going to be for like Saint Bernards, Kengals and stuff. So that's our next step. But after that as well, I kind of want to do more sort of support to animals as well. So things that will help dogs get into cars and you know, like the things that go in the back seats, all the stuff like that as well. Because I think once we've built the brand to have a really good credibility behind it, you know, people will just buy products from it because they know that product was a good product. So if I buy this one, it's probably going to last me however long as well. So
that's a good area to position yourself as a business, like having good quality products. The worst thing is like when you sell a cheap product, you've lost that customer. The second they get that, it's like, I'll go somewhere else next time. 100%. And so awesome stuff. Well, Chris, thanks for joining us
thanks for having me
on this podcast. Good to have a chat.
Thanks, Chris.
See how things are going, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much.